Listen closely, for these words are more than sound. They are a summons, a clarion call to the depths of your soul. You are here because something inside you refuses to fade, refuses to vanish quietly into the night. They tried to erase you. They tried to write your name in sand and let the tide swallow it whole. They thought they could silence your story, crush your voice under the weight of their indifference. But legends are not written in sand, and they are not so easily silenced. Legends carve themselves into stone, into the hearts of those who dare to rise. And you are a legend in the making. Do you feel it? That trembling in your chest, that ache in your gut? It's the fire they couldn't put out. It's the spark that survived the storm. They threw stones, words, and shadows at you, hoping you'd crumble under the weight of their judgment. They called you too much, too little, too broken. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't see, is that every blow only forged you harder, stronger, unbreakable. And imagine this, a seed buried deep in the earth. At first glance, it looks defeated, swallowed whole by the dirt. But the earth doesn't bury the seed to kill it. It buries it, awaken it. And that's exactly what happened to you. They thought the darkness would devour you. They thought the weight of it all would suffocate you. But instead, you took root. You reached for the light, defiant, unstoppable. You weren't just growing, you were becoming. This isn't a story about survival. Survival is the bare minimum. This is a story about transformation, about rising from ashes and proving that the fire wasn't the end, it was the beginning. That dawn, it's about how every scar you carry is not a reminder of defeat, but a testament to your endurance. They tried to erase you, but they didn't realize erasing is not destruction. Erasing is a challenge, and you accepted it. You took the emptiness they left and filled it with power, with resilience, with legend. There's a legend in every line of your face, in every crack they tried to fill with doubt. And now, it's time to step into that story, not as a shadow of what they thought you should be, but as the blazing force of what you are destined to become. The world doesn't need more echoes of the same. It needs the kind of defiance, the kind of strength that only comes from standing tall after you've been knocked down. So, let me say it loud, so loud that even the ones who tried to erase you can hear it. You are not a casualty of their doubts, their fears, or their small-mindedness. You are a force they didn't see coming. You are a monument to what it means to rise when others fall. They tried to erase you, but all they did was pave the way for your legend to take root. Your story doesn't begin with their attempt to erase you. It begins with your decision to rise anyway. This is not just another story. This is not a tale for idle ears or passive hearts. No, this is the fight of your life. And whether you realize it or not, you've been in the ring for longer than you can remember. The world threw its punches early, didn't it? It hit you with doubts before you even knew how to dream. It whispered, then shouted that you weren't enough. And somewhere along the way, you started to believe it. You've been staggering ever since, carrying the weight of their words, their judgments, their dismissals. They labeled you, boxed you in, tried to strip you of your voice, your power, your name. And now you stand here, on the edge. You're not sure if you have the strength to keep going. The fight has taken so much from you already. You're tired, battered, and bruised. But let me tell you something no one else has dared to say. You are still in this fight. If you were truly defeated, you wouldn't be here. If they had erased you completely, we wouldn't be having this conversation. The fact that you're still breathing, still listening, still aching for something more, that's proof enough that you're far from done. You've been conditioned to shrink, to dim your light so it wouldn't disturb the shadows. But what they never told you, what they couldn't tell you, is that your light was never meant to fit their comfort. It was meant to blind, to blaze, to burn through every obstacle in your path. You have been walking with your head down for too long. It's time to lift it. It's time to step into the story that's been waiting for you, the one where you stop surviving and start becoming. The clock is ticking, do you hear it? Every second a heartbeat, every moment a choice. You might not feel it yet, but you're standing at a crossroads, and make no mistake, this is no ordinary moment. This is a decision that will echo through every tomorrow you have left. Will you let them win? Will you let the whispers of doubt keep you small, keep you silent, keep you stuck? Or will you finally take the leap, step out of the shadows, and claim what has always been yours? Let me make it clear, the stakes couldn't be higher. If you don't act now, who will? If you don't take this chance, this one, right here, right now, when will you? Life doesn't wait. The world doesn't pause to give you permission. Every day you hesitate, another piece of you fades into the background. And that's exactly what they want, isn't it? For you to disappear. For you to be so consumed by doubt, fear, and exhaustion that you never rise. That's how they win. That's how the erasure becomes permanent. But let me ask you this. Are you really going to let them have the final word? Are you really going to hand over your story to the very people, forces, and fears that tried to break you? Or are you going to fight back? Not with anger, not with bitterness, but with the quiet, unshakable determination that says, I'm still here, and I'm not going anywhere. The urgency isn't just in the ticking of time, it's in the beating of your own heart. Deep down, you know you were meant for more. You felt it, haven't you? In the moments between chaos and silence, there's a voice, soft but insistent, that whispers, this can't be it. There's more for you. That voice isn't a lie, it's the truth trying to break through the noise. But truth needs action. Belief needs movement. You've been standing at the edge long enough, it's time to leap. They've taken so much already, don't let them take another second. Don't let them have another moment of your life. This is your time, not tomorrow, not someday, now. The choice is yours, but the clock is relentless. Every second you hesitate is a second they win, and every second you fight is a second you take back. What will it be? Now close your eyes for a moment. I want you to see what I see. Not the version of you they tried to create, not the fragments they left behind, but the real you. The unstoppable, unshakable, undeniable you. The one who rises from the ashes, who turns scars into stories, who takes every blow and transforms it into power. That version of you, it's not a dream. It's not some distant fantasy. It's real, and it's waiting. All it needs is for you to step forward, to claim it. You've been told you're not capable. They've said you're too damaged, too weak, too far gone to ever become something great. But they don't know you, do they? They don't know the battles you've already fought, the storms you've already weathered. They don't know the fire that still burns inside you, no matter how hard they try to extinguish it. I'm gonna turn your back to the flames, to set it right, to tell a future on the verge of being hidden to him. If he's there, he needs you. And they don't know the truth that you were never meant to fit into their mold. You were meant to shatter it. You're here because the world didn't know what you were capable of. But they will. Oh, they will. The same people who doubted you will watch in awe as you rise. The same forces that tried to erase you will tremble as you take up space. And the same doubts that whispered in your ear will fall silent in the face of your power. The affection may not cure you, but the love, death, the torture, and sacrifice will take up spout. And the same doubts that whispered in your ear will fall silent in the face of your power. This isn't about revenge, it's about reclamation. It's about taking back every piece of yourself that was stolen, suppressed, or silenced and saying, this is mine, this is who I am. Picture it, a future where you walk with your head high, not because you've forgotten the pain, but because you've transformed it. A future where the scars they left are no longer wounds, but badges of honor. A future where your voice is loud, clear, and unapologetic. That's where you're headed. That's what's waiting on the other side of this moment. But it's up to you to get there. So, what will it be? Will you stay where you are, trapped in the story they tried to write for you? Or will you turn the page, pick up the pen, and start writing your own? The legend is waiting. Your legend is waiting. The only question left is, will you rise to meet it? There's a heaviness you carry, isn't there? Like the weight of the world has latched itself onto your shoulders, grinding you into the ground. You've felt it in the quiet moments, the ones no one else sees, when the noise of the world fades and you're left alone with the echoes of their words. Words that didn't just cut, they carved. They hollowed you out, leaving you raw, exposed. You've been cut down, haven't you? Laughed at, dismissed, erased from the story like you were never meant to be a part of it. You've heard them, those voices sharp as shattered glass. They told you that you weren't enough, that you didn't belong. You're too much, they said one day, only to turn around and tell you you're not enough the next. Confusing, isn't it? To be both too much and not enough all at once. They've kept you guessing, kept you shrinking, kept you so busy trying to fit their mold that you lost the shape of who you were meant to be. It's like you've been walking through a storm with no end in sight. The wind howls, the rain lashes at your skin, and every step feels heavier than the last. The storm doesn't care that you're tired, that you're aching, that your legs are screaming for rest. It just keeps coming, relentless and cold. And you've been there, haven't you? Alone in that storm, wondering if the sun would ever shine again. Wondering if you even deserve the light after so much darkness. But the worst part is how they made you question yourself. They didn't just hurt you. They planted seeds of doubt in your mind, seeds that grew into a forest of fear and self-loathing, choking out your confidence, your joy, your belief in your own worth. Every time you tried to climb out, their voices pulled you back. Who do you think you are? You'll never make it. You'll never be enough. And so you stopped trying. Or maybe you kept trying, but every step felt heavier, harder, slower. Like trudging through a desert, your mouth dry, your hope evaporating under the relentless sun. Every oasis you thought you saw turned out to be a mirage. And every time you reached out for help, it felt like there was no one there. Isolation. That's what they wanted, isn't it? To make you feel so alone that you'd give up, to make you believe that this is all there is. But let's name them, shall we? Let's pull the shadows into the light and see them for what they really are. Because you didn't end up here by accident. No, there were forces at work, villains in the story, determined to keep you small. Let's start with societal pressures. They painted a picture of who you were supposed to be before you even had a chance to decide for yourself. And be this, not that. Act like this, talk like that. Don't dream too big, but don't settle too small. Don't stand out, but don't fade away. Confusing, isn't it? How they set you up to fail before you even began. And then there's the voice of doubt, that insidious whisper in your ear. You know the one. It's been with you for as long as you can remember. It doesn't yell, it doesn't need to. It just plants its poison drip by drip. What if you fail? What if they're right about you? What if you're just not cut out for this? Doubt is a master of disguise, masquerading as caution, as logic, as realism. But make no mistake, doubt is the enemy of greatness, and it's been working overtime to keep you from seeing your own potential. Of course, we can't forget the toxic influences, the people who claimed to care but only ever seemed to take. Maybe it was a friend who turned out to be a competitor in disguise. Maybe it was a lover who used your vulnerabilities against you. Maybe it was family, the ones who were supposed to lift you up but only ever seemed to hold you back. Whoever they were, they played their part in the story, didn't they? They fed the storm, stoked the fire of your fears, and left you questioning whether you were worth loving, worth believing in, worth fighting for. And let's talk about fear itself. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of the unknown. Fear is a master manipulator, isn't it? It convinces you to stay where it's safe, where it's comfortable, even if that comfort is killing you. Fear whispers that the world out there is too big, too dangerous, too full of pain. And so you stay in the shadows, where it's quiet, where it's safe, or so you think. But safety is just another illusion, another trap designed to keep you from stepping into your power. These villains, they're relentless, they're cunning. They know your weak spots, your soft underbelly, and they exploit them with precision. But here's the thing, they're not invincible. They're not all powerful. They only have as much control as you give them. And the moment you start to see them for what they are, liars, manipulators, illusions, is the moment their grip begins to loosen. Because let me tell you something, the storm doesn't last forever. The desert isn't endless, and the shadows can't stand against the light. The villains in your story are strong, yes, but you are stronger. They've thrown everything they have at you, and yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still fighting. That's the thing they didn't count on, isn't it? That you'd survive, that you'd endure, that you'd find a way to rise, even when the weight of it all seemed unbearable. So let's name them, let's see them, and let's prepare to face them, because they are not the end of your story. They are simply the obstacles you must overcome on your way to becoming everything they tried to erase. And trust me, you are more than capable of overcoming them. Every day you hesitate, another piece of you slips away. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, but it's there. The dreams you once held close, the fire that burned bright in your chest, it dims, doesn't it? It gets harder to remember what it felt like to believe in something, to believe in yourself, and that's what they want. The villains in your story, those voices of doubt, fear, and betrayal, they thrive in your hesitation. They know that the longer you stand still, the easier it is for them to keep you there. Let's not sugarcoat it. Staying stuck isn't just a delay, it's a slow erosion of everything you were meant to be. The world doesn't pause while you figure it out. Time doesn't wait for you to gather the courage to move forward. The answers are out there in the dark. They're waiting for you down there. They are terrified to step out of your comfort zone. It marches on, relentless and indifferent. And every moment you spend doubting yourself, every second you spend wrapped in fear or bitterness, is a moment you'll never get back. Think about it. How many opportunities have passed you by because you were too afraid to reach out and take them? How many times have you silenced your own voice because you thought it wasn't worth hearing? How many dreams have withered on the vine because you convinced yourself you weren't ready, or worse, that you weren't worthy? It's like standing in quicksand. The longer you remain still, the deeper you sink. You feel the weight pulling you down, the pressure building in your chest, and yet you freeze. Not because you want to, but because it feels like there's no other option. And that's the cruelest part, isn't it? The despair doesn't just hurt, it paralyzes. It wraps around you like chains, making you believe that escape is impossible. But let's be honest, what's the alternative? Staying here, letting the weight of your doubts, fears, and failures consume you entirely? Because make no mistake, that's exactly what will happen if you don't move. You can't stay stuck forever. Forever. 100%. It has nothing to do with safety and calm. Rather, you feel that you must take space. Take it all in. The quicksand doesn't stop sinking. The walls don't stop closing in. Every day you hesitate, the life you could have had drifts further out of reach. There's no neutral ground in this fight. You're either moving forward or you're being pulled under. And the longer you let the villains in your story dictate your actions or your inaction, the stronger they become. They feed off your hesitation, your fear, your silence. But you don't have to let them. The struggle is real, yes, and the weight is heavy. But you have a choice, and that choice is the difference between fading into the background and stepping into the legend you were born to be. It's okay to feel broken. Let's get that out of the way right now. There's no shame in the tears you've cried, the nights you've spent staring at the ceiling, wondering if you'll ever feel whole again. There's no shame in the anger, the bitterness, the fear. These feelings, they're human. They're proof that you've been through something real, something that left a mark. And let me tell you this, if you're carrying scars, it's because you fought. And fighting, even when you don't win, is a kind of strength all its own. You don't have to pretend you're okay when you're not. You don't have to plaster on a smile or act like the weight isn't crushing you. This isn't about ignoring the pain. It's about acknowledging it, feeling it, and then deciding that it doesn't get to define you. Pain is a part of the journey, yes, but it's not the whole story. And as much as it might feel like it right now, it's not permanent. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to feel like giving up. But what you're not allowed to do, what you owe to yourself, is to stay broken. Because staying broken means giving them exactly what they wanted. It means letting the villains in your story win. And you are too strong, too fierce, too full of potential to let that happen. Look, I get it. I really do. The despair, the hopelessness, the voice in your head that keeps asking, what's the point? It's deafening sometimes, isn't it? It drowns out everything else, makes it hard to see the way forward. But here's the thing, despair lies. It tells you that the pain will last forever, that the struggle will never end. But it's wrong. Pain is a season, not a sentence. And even in the darkest winter, the seeds of spring are waiting beneath the surface. You've been through hell. I'm not here to tell you otherwise. I'm not here to minimize your pain or pretend that it's easy to move on. It's not. But I am here to tell you that you are not alone in this. You are not the only one who's felt broken, lost, and hopeless. And just as others have risen from their despair, so can you. You are not an exception to the rule. You are the rule. You are the proof that pain doesn't have the final word. So feel the weight, acknowledge it, but don't let it own you. Don't let it chain you to a life of regret and what-ifs. You are more than your mistakes, more than your failures, more than the scars they left behind. You are more. And it's time to start believing that, even if it feels impossible right now. You're allowed to grieve what's been lost. You're allowed to sit with the pain for a while. But when you're ready, and you will be ready, you must stand. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Not because the pain will disappear overnight, but because every step forward is a step away from the quicksand, the chains, the darkness. It's okay to feel broken, but it's not okay to stay broken. You are more resilient than you know, stronger than you believe, and braver than you feel. And even now, even in the depths of your despair, there is a part of you, a small, stubborn spark that refuses to go out. That spark, that's your legend, waiting to be born. They buried you. They pushed you down, threw dirt over your name, and turned their backs as if you were done. But here's the thing they didn't understand. You weren't a corpse. They buried a seed. And when a seed is buried, it doesn't die. It waits. It gathers strength in the dark, roots itself deep into the earth, and then, against all odds, it breaks through. That's you. You've been buried, but you're not broken. You're waiting, gathering, growing. And soon, you'll rise so high that the ones who buried you will have no choice but to look up. Hope is a quiet thing, isn't it? It doesn't scream or shout. It's not loud or obvious. It's a whisper, a gentle nudge, a flicker of light in the darkest of nights. And right now, that whisper is calling to you. It's telling you that this isn't the end. It's telling you that no matter how heavy the weight feels, no matter how deep the hole they've dug for you, you have the power to rise. You have the power to break through. Look at nature. Every tree, every flower, every blade of grass once faced the same challenge, darkness. The earth pressed down on them, heavy and unyielding. But they didn't stop. They didn't give up. They pushed against it, slow and steady, until they found the light. And when they did, they became something extraordinary. That's what you're doing right now, even if you don't realize it. Every day you wake up, every breath you take, every step forward, even the smallest one, is proof that hope is alive in you. Hope doesn't erase the pain, but it makes the pain bearable. It doesn't solve the problem, but it gives you the strength to face it. And here's the truth. The fact that you're still here, still fighting, still searching for something better, that's hope in action. That's the seed breaking through. For us, these images speak to us. And no matter how dark it gets, no matter how long it takes, that seed will grow, because that's what hope does. It refuses to give up, and so will you. Now let's talk about your pain. It's real, it's raw, and it's undeniable. But here's the twist. It's also your greatest source of power. Every scar you carry, every battle you've fought, every tear you've cried, they're not weaknesses. Proof that you've endured. Proof that you've faced the worst and come out the other side. Proof that no matter how many times life tried to break you, you refuse to stay broken. Think of your scars as armor. Each one tells a story, a chapter in the legend of you. They're not marks of defeat, they're badges of honor. They show the world that you've been through the fire and emerged stronger. They're reminders that even when you were at your lowest, you found a way to keep going. And here's the thing about armor. It's not flawless, it's not smooth or perfect. It's dented, scratched, and worn. But that's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it real. Your battles, they weren't just struggles, they were lessons. Each one taught you something about yourself, about the world, about what it means to survive. The heartbreaks, the failures, the betrayals, they weren't meaningless. They were teachers, shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, more resilient. It's like steel being forged in fire. The heat, the pressure, the hammering, it hurts. But in the end, it creates something unbreakable. That's you. Every hit you took made you harder to break. Imagine a phoenix rising from the ashes. It doesn't deny the fire, it embraces it. Flames don't destroy it, they transform it. They burn away what no longer serves, leaving behind something fierce and unstoppable. Your pain is your fire. It's not here to consume you, it's here to transform you, to burn away the doubts, the fears, the limitations, and reveal the unstoppable force you were always meant to be. Dimension X is your safe haven from all the destruction, from a life of misery and self-poisoning. So don't run from your pain, don't hide from it or bury it. Face it, embrace it, let it fuel you. Let it remind you that you've already survived so much. And if you've survived this much, there's nothing you can't overcome. Your pain isn't your enemy, it's your power. And it's time to use it. Let's be clear, you are stronger than you think. You've survived everything so far. Every storm, every betrayal, every dark night. You've faced it all, and you're still standing. That's your proof, that's your evidence. You might not feel strong, and that's okay. Strength isn't about feeling, it's about doing. It's about showing up even when it's hard. It's about taking one more step even when you're tired. And you've been doing that all along. Think about it. Every time you got up after being knocked down, you proved your strength. Every time you chose to keep going, even when it felt impossible, you proved your resilience. You've been through the worst, and you're still here. That means something. That means you're capable of so much more than you realize. But strength isn't just about enduring. It's about creating. It's about taking the pieces of what's been broken and building something new, something stronger, something unbreakable. And that's what you're doing now. Every step forward, every choice to keep going, every act of defiance against the voices that told you to give up, that's you, building something extraordinary. So, what's next? How do you take all this strength, all this power, and use it to transform your life? It starts with action. Small steps, big steps. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you move. Start by setting one goal. One thing you can do today to move closer to the life you want. It doesn't have to be huge, it just has to be something. And then, do it. Take the step. Make the call, write the words, whatever it is, do it. Next, surround yourself with people who lift you up, people who see your strength, who believe in your potential, who encourage you to keep going. You don't need a crowd, just a few voices that remind you of who you are and what you're capable of. And if you can't find those people, be that person for yourself. Speak to yourself with kindness, with courage, with belief. You've come this far, and you deserve to hear the truth. You are enough. And by the way, you are capable. You are unstoppable. Finally, remind yourself every day that this is your story, not theirs. Not the voices that doubted you, the people who tried to erase you, or the fears that held you back. This is your life, and you get to decide how it unfolds. So, choose to rise. Choose to believe. Choose to become the legend you were always meant to be. The road ahead won't be easy. It won't be smooth or simple. Choose to become what you are, but it will be worth it. Because on the other side of this journey is the life you've been waiting for. The life you've been fighting for. And it's yours for the taking. So take it. Stand up, step forward, and claim your power. They buried you, but you're a seed. And it's time to grow. It's time to rise. It's time to become the legend they never saw coming. The legend you're meant to be isn't a dream. It's your destiny. It's not some fleeting wish or distant fantasy. It's the truth that's been lying dormant within you all along, waiting for the moment you'd finally see it. For you, like a previous Pritz, there are all races of people. There are different kinds of people. Some are more inventive than others, but there are individuals, and that moment, it's here, right now. This is your turning point. This is the moment when you stop doubting and start believing, not because someone else told you to, but because you finally understand what's always been true. You are more powerful than they could ever imagine. Let me say it again, louder this time, so it cuts through every doubt, every fear, every lie you've been told. They tried to erase you. They tried to erase you. They wrote you off, pushed you aside, dismissed you as if your voice didn't matter. But they forgot something crucial. They forgot who you are. They forgot the resilience woven into your spirit, the fire burning in your chest. They underestimated the force of someone who's been through the depths and still chooses to rise. You were never meant to stay in their shadows. You were never meant to follow their rules, to live within the limits they tried to impose on you. You were meant to break free, to shatter the ceiling they built above you, and to stand tall in the light of your own power. And now is the time to prove them wrong. Not with words or vengeance, but with action, with growth, with transformation so profound that they can't help but stand in awe. Think about this. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every betrayal, it wasn't a roadblock. It was a stepping stone. It was a test, not of your worth, but of your resolve. And you passed. Even when it felt like you were losing, you were learning, growing, becoming. They thought they were burying you, but all they did was plant the seed of something unstoppable. And now it's time for you to bloom. Repetition is power, so let me say it again, louder this time, until it's burned into your soul. They tried to erase you. They tried to erase you. But you didn't just survive. You became more than they could handle. You became a force they couldn't silence, a story they couldn't rewrite. You became a legend. Look at how far you've come. Just pause for a moment and take it in. The person you were when this journey began, the one who doubted, hesitated, and questioned their worth, that person isn't gone, but they've transformed, they've grown, they've evolved. You've gone from victim to survivor, from survivor to fighter, and now you stand on the brink of something even greater, becoming the hero of your own story, yours. Heroes aren't born, they're made. They're forged in the fire of their struggles, shaped by the weight of their pain and strengthened by the battles they've fought. And you fought harder, longer, and more fiercely than most. You've earned your place as the hero of this tale, not because someone handed it to you, but because you claimed it for yourself. So now, the question is this: will you rise, or will you let them win? Will you let the voices of doubt and fear dictate your path, or will you finally take the reins and lead yourself to the life you deserve? Because make no mistake, this is a choice. The path forward won't be easy, but it will be worth it. And the only thing standing between you and the life you were meant to live is the decision to move. Look around you. The chains they tried to wrap around you, they're broken. The weight they placed on your shoulders, you've lifted it. The walls they built to keep you small, you've shattered them. But here's the thing about breaking free. Freedom is only the beginning. Now comes the next step. The step where you decide what to do with that freedom. Will you use it to grow? To rise, to become unstoppable, or will you hesitate, allowing the shadows of your past to creep back in? Let me ask you something. When they look back at your story, what do you want them to see? Do you want them to see someone who gave up, someone who let the pain win? Or do you want them to see someone who defied the odds, who took every hit life threw at them and turned it into fuel? Do you want them to see someone who became a legend, not because it was easy, but because they refused to settle for anything less? This isn't just about proving them wrong, it's about proving yourself right. It's about looking in the mirror and finally seeing what's been there all along, a warrior, a creator, a force of nature. It's about realizing that every step you've taken, every battle you've fought has brought you here, to this moment, the moment of truth, the moment you weren't looking for, the moment you didn't ask for. He stands, his voice rising, and it forms a word. Kulazo, to this decision, to this chance to become everything they said you couldn't be. So will you rise? Will you claim your power, your purpose, your destiny? Or will you let the voices of doubt, fear, and failure hold you back? The choice is yours. But let me tell you this, rising isn't just an option, it's your birthright. It's the next chapter in your story, the chapter where you stop surviving and start thriving. The chapter where you don't just live, you soar. They thought they erased you, they thought they could bury you, silence you, and break you. But all they did was create the foundation for your rise. And now it's time to rise higher than they ever imagined. It's time to become the legend they never saw coming. This is your moment. Take it. Pick up the pieces. Every shard, every fragment, every broken part of yourself that they tried to scatter into the wind. Gather them. They thought they were breaking you, but what they didn't realize is that breaking is just the first step to becoming unbreakable. Like a shattered mirror reflecting 100 different angles of light, the pieces of you aren't meant to be discarded. They're meant to be rebuilt, reshaped, reforged into something that cannot be torn apart again. You've seen a phoenix rise from the ashes in stories, haven't you? That mythical bird that bursts into flames, crumbles to nothing, and then rises stronger, fiercer, and more beautiful than before. That's you. The ashes of your past aren't a grave. They're the soil in which your future takes root. So rise like the phoenix. Let the flames that once consumed you become the fire that fuels your ascent. Burn away the lies, the doubts, the fear, and rise. Or maybe you're more like a mountain, unyielding, unmoving. You felt the storms batter you, the winds howl against you, the rain try to erode you, but you're still standing. And now it's time to grow even taller, to stretch so high that your peaks touch the heavens. Let their storms come, you've weathered worse. Let their doubts rage, you've proven them wrong before. You're a mountain, and mountains don't bow, mountains rise. Here's the challenge. Will you stand there, staring at the pieces of what was, or will you begin to build something new, something unbreakable? Because the truth is, the power to rebuild doesn't come from anyone else. It doesn't come from their apologies or their recognition. It comes from you, from the decision to take what you have, no matter how broken it may seem, and turn it into something extraordinary. So what will it be? Will you rise, or will you let them win? Here's how you begin. Not tomorrow, not when it feels easier, not when the stars align, or the world gives you permission. Now, because every moment you wait is a moment lost, and you've already lost too many. Step 1, reclaim your narrative. The first step is to take back the pen they tried to steal. This is your story, and you are the author. Write the next chapter with intention. Write it with courage. Decide what kind of person you want to be, and start living that way. You don't need anyone else's approval to begin. The only permission you need is your own. Step 2, take small steps forward. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the enormity of the journey ahead, but remember this, you don't have to climb the entire mountain today. All you have to do is take one step, just one. Maybe it's reaching out for help, setting a new goal, or simply choosing to get out of bed when it feels impossible. One step leads to another, and before you know it, you're moving forward. Step 3, surround yourself with strength. Find the people who believe in you, who see your potential even when you don't. And if you can't find them, be that person for yourself. Speak words of kindness and encouragement to your reflection. And then our fourth step, be your own advocate, your own cheerleader, your own warrior. The people who truly matter will join you along the way. Step 4, use the pain as fuel. Every time doubt creeps in, every time the weight feels unbearable, remind yourself of this. Your pain is proof of your resilience. Let it push you forward, not pull you back. Let it remind you of everything you've survived and everything you're capable of. Step 5, embrace growth. Growth isn't comfortable, it stretches you, challenges you, forces you to confront parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. But it's necessary. Lean into the discomfort, because on the other side of it is the version of you that you've always been meant to become. This roadmap isn't a promise that the journey will be easy. It won't be. But it's a reminder that you have the tools, the strength, and the courage to take the journey. And step by step, piece by piece, you'll build something that not even the fiercest storms can tear down. They thought they erased you. They thought they could silence your voice, bury your dreams, and turn your story into nothing more than a footnote. But they were wrong, so very wrong. Because legends, my friend, cannot be erased. Legends endure. Legends rise. Legends take the very things meant to destroy them and turn them into fuel for their fire. And you are a legend in the making. Not because someone else said so, but because you've chosen to be. Because you've decided that their attempts to bury you won't succeed. Because you've seen the darkness, walked through the fire, and refused to let it consume you. So here's the truth. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are not the sum of your mistakes or the weight of your scars. You are more. You are so much more. You are the fire that won't be extinguished. You are the mountain that won't be moved. You are the phoenix that rises, the warrior that fights, the seed that grows against all odds. Let this be the moment you look back on as the turning point. The moment you stopped waiting for someone else to save you and realized that you had the power to save yourself all along. The moment you stopped surviving and started thriving. The moment you decided that no matter what they tried to do, they couldn't erase you. Not then, not now, not ever. This is your story, and it's far from over. The world is waiting for your voice, your impact, your light. So rise, stand tall, be bold, and when they look at you, let them see the legend you've become. The legend they never saw coming. They tried to erase you, but all they did was make you stronger. They tried to bury you, but they didn't realize they were planting a seed. And now it's time to bloom. Now it's time to rise. Now it's time to claim your place as the legend you were always meant to be. Because legends, my friend, cannot be erased, and neither can you. This is where the journey has brought you. Look back for just a moment. Not to dwell on the pain, but to honor the path you've walked. Think of the battles you've fought, the scars you've carried, and the storms you've weathered. You started in a place of doubt, fear, and brokenness, unsure if you could ever rise from the ashes they left behind. But here you are, standing taller, fiercer, and more alive than ever. You've been through the fire, you've felt the weight of despair, the pull of hopelessness, and the suffocating grip of doubt. But through it all you endured. You didn't just survive, you grew. You didn't just mend the pieces, they became the foundation for something unshakable. Within power there is a common language: joy. Got it. You've walked through darkness and found your light. You've taken the very tools they tried to use against you and built a monument to your resilience. Let this moment sink in. You are not a survivor, you are a legend. Survivors make it through. Legends transform. Legends rise. Legends take the pain, the loss, the betrayal, and turn it into something extraordinary. That's what you've done, that's who you are. A legend is someone who takes the impossible and makes it inevitable. Someone who turns their story into a beacon for others. Someone who refuses to be erased. You've proven to yourself and to the world that no matter how many times they tried to cut you down, you'd rise again. They tried to erase you, but they underestimated your strength, your fire, your spirit, and now, the story they tried to end has become the beginning of something they can never stop. Your legend isn't just alive, it's thriving. As you step forward, remember this: the world is watching, not the ones who doubted you. They no longer matter. The ones watching now are those who need your story, your courage, your light. You've become a force they can't ignore, and your journey will inspire others to rise as you have. The fire that once threatened to consume you is now the fire that lights the way. This isn't just the end of a chapter. It's the start of something greater. The story of a legend who refused to be erased, who turned their pain into power, and who rose to claim their place. You are not what they said you were. You are not defined by their attempts to break you. You are defined by your decision to rise again and again. So, as you leave this moment, carry this truth with you. You are not just surviving. You are living, thriving, and shining. You are not a shadow, a footnote, or a victim. You are a legend, and the world will never forget it. This is your story, your rise, your legacy. Take it, own it, live it. The legend of you has just begun. They tried to erase you, but legends, my friend, cannot be erased.